Well, for a game that seemed to be a bit of a struggle at times, there was a lot of interesting talking points after the fact. And that held up when I took a look at the film. There is a lot of interesting things we're going to have to break down here. So let's get right into it. Welcome to Josh's Football Breakdowns, where we don't tell you what you're seeing. We let the film tell us what we're seeing. And a lot of the talk after the game revolved around Kyle Shanahan's play calling and play design. But it was a play call from DeMeco Ryans in the first drive of the game that I want to start with. If you think back to previous games, the 49ers would find themselves trying to come up with ways to get their pass rush going a little bit. They're still missing some of their interior guys, and they're trying to find ways to get pressure on the quarterback. Well, one thing you can do is send a blitz, but sometimes teams don't like to do that right away. Once you start sending some of your blitz packages, the other team can see what you're doing and then make adjustments. First drive of the game, you may not do that, but not here. Facing a 3rd down and 6, DeMeco Ryans says, no way, we are sending the blitz. He puts 6 men up at the line of scrimmage. Not all 6 men are going to rush on this occasion. The 49ers are only going to send 5, dropping Tayshaun Gipson back to take away the route of the tight end, Trey McKitty. And I think there was a little bit of a miscommunication on this play, because Dre Greenlaw also moves over to pick up that route. And since Fred Warner is coming on the blitz, there's nobody left in the middle of the field to take away the dangerous Austin Eckler. Moving ahead a few plays in the drive, the Chargers are going to fake the handoff, and the 49ers remain undaunted, sending another blitz, this time with Azeez Al-Shaair. And DeAndre Carter is a threat to take the space the defense left behind. So Talanoa Hufanga sits on that route, and Carter blows right by him for a touchdown. Perhaps some rust coming out of the bye week, and some excellent preparation by the Chargers, and a nice route and a nice throw by Justin Herbert too. It all combines to give the Chargers a 6-0 lead. And they would knock through the extra point, making the score 7-0. After the game, Shanahan revealed that he wanted to run the ball 40 times against the Chargers defense that has had a little bit of trouble stopping the run and was depleted in terms of personnel. So Kyle gets to work right away with his new toy, Christian McCaffrey. The 49ers would open the game with 4 consecutive runs to Christian McCaffrey, and this play was a success for a few reasons. For one thing, it helps when the nose tackle, Sebastian Joseph Day, falls down on the play. Aaron Banks also makes a really nice block to the inside. And if you take a look at the way Trent Williams and Tyler Kroft are set up, it almost looks as if McCaffrey could have bounced it to the outside. In fact, I've highlighted Derwin James there. He thought that's where he was going. In fact, the other safety for the Chargers, Asante Samuel, thought that's where he was going too. But McCaffrey takes the path of least resistance and gives the 49ers a first down. The Chargers, naturally, would try to stiffen against the run, and here they would challenge the 49ers to complete a pass on 3rd down and 6. And it's a first down to Jauan Jennings, a theme we would see throughout this game. Let's go back to the snap. Now, a lot of times you'll see these players run a route where they run downfield and kind of sit up in a spot. And what do you do if you do that and there's a defender right there all over you? You move. And this is great chemistry between Garoppolo and Jennings. So this is the next play. It's 1st and 10, and we see Christian McCaffrey in the backfield again. But at the snap, he heads out. And we see George Kittle running a pass route. The Chargers know that this is not a run, and the defense reacts. Brandon Aiyuk takes the space the defense left behind. Making their way downfield, Shanahan decides now is the time to hit them with the run fake. Why? Well, struggling to stop the run, the Chargers decide to confront this with a 5-man line. And there's a few ways that the 49ers can try to take advantage of this. One way would be to try to throw over the top of him. Garoppolo makes his first read to Brandon Aiyuk. He's covered. Also notice, there's no effect of moving the safety here, because the safety's not even looking at Jimmy Garoppolo. He's looking right at Deebo Samuel. A wise decision. When Garoppolo resets his feet and heads that way, Deebo's covered. So Jimmy Garoppolo does the right thing and throws the ball away. Hey, check it out. It's Jerry Rice. Another way you can try to take advantage of an aggressive front is to spread them out. If you remember back to our breakdown of the Denver Broncos game, I was basically screaming at my TV for them to do this the whole time. And here they do, right? They put Brandon Aiyuk and Jauan Jennings way out there. They send Christian McCaffrey in motion out there, and it works. It moves the Chargers defense out of the way. And now the 49ers have a numbers advantage with the run blocking. Deebo Samuel takes this carry all the way down to the 2-yard line. But on third down, the 49ers seem to forget what they're maybe trying to do a little bit here. They have Brandon Aiyuk and Jauan Jennings lined up tight to the inside. Now, they do put Deebo Samuel in motion, and the Chargers send Nasir Adderley out there, but other than that, it's not really enough to move anybody else on the defense, and the 6-man front is able to stuff the run. I didn't like the play design, and I certainly didn't like the play call in this situation. 49ers are going to be forced to settle for a field goal here. That was a big stop by the Chargers. Fortunately, Robbie Gould's able to knock it through, making the score Chargers 7, 49ers 3. The Chargers would get the ball back, and facing a third down, this is a good chance for us to check out the pass rush of Nick Bosa. Bosa is bearing down on Justin Herbert, who has Jordan Palmer open here, but Herbert hurries his throw, and the pass falls incomplete. Because he hurried himself, his footwork isn't great here, and probably one of the reasons this pass was off the mark. So the 49ers get the ball back, and they'd like to build off of what they did in the previous drive, maybe add some points to the scoreboard, maybe score a touchdown this time. And we see that the Chargers have a 5-man front again. They're going to rush with 4, and when the 49ers fake the ball to Christian McCaffrey, 3 more defenders react. The plan here for the 49ers is obvious. Throw over the top of him. Deebo Samuel is a very dangerous receiver. The Chargers send 2 defenders with him. And take a look at the stem of the route of Brandon Aiyuk. It looks like he's going deep. He gets Asante Samuel Jr. turned around. And when he does, Brandon Aiyuk takes advantage of that with a move to the inside, coming wide open, and he reaches high and makes a great catch. It reminded me a lot of the catch Michael Crabtree had in the divisional round back in 2013. And similar to that play, you're also going to see Brandon Aiyuk get spun around, this time right into Derwin James, who puts his helmet right on the football. It is fumbled and recovered by the Chargers. Ouch. By the way, can we just take a minute to talk about the NFL history on the Chargers? Nasir Adderley, nephew of the great Herb Adderley from Green Bay, Joe Lombardi, Vince Lombardi's grandson, and Asante Samuel Jr. The Chargers end up settling for a field goal, but it was a free 3 points. Not something you want to have early on in this game. This would make the score 10-3 Chargers, and the teams would trade a couple of punts, so let's move ahead to the second quarter, where the Chargers have the ball again. Here Jimmy Ward is trailing DeAndre Carter, and Justin Herbert spots him. Now, the crazy thing about this play is I think Talanoa Hufanga sees it too, but he can't get over there because McKitty is simply in the way. I can't ever remember seeing a play like this. Now, one thing I definitely want to highlight about this play is the hustle of Tashawn Gibson, who saves a touchdown here, and that would be significant, as we would see. On first down, it would be the Chargers' turn to hit San Francisco with the run fake. This has the effect of slowing down the pass rush from Nick Bosa and drawing in some of the defenders, with the same goal of throwing over the top of them. But this takes too long to develop, and Herbert ends up having to throw this ball away. On second down, Foster Sarell false starts. Now the Chargers have to move 5 yards back. From this angle, the penalty is more apparent. Since the threat of running the ball has been reduced, San Francisco can now have more freedom to drop their guys back into the end zone, defend that end zone, and Nick Bosa can be a little freer with his pass rush. And he gets home for the sack. That's a big play. But on third down, I really like this play call by the Chargers. They know it's going to be tough to throw the ball into the end zone. They also need to find a way to slow down the pass rush of the 49ers. And they want to get the ball into the hands of one of their best playmakers. In this case, it's Austin Eckler. So they call a screen to the outside. But DeAndre Carter doesn't appear to know the play call. He runs right by Jimmy Ward. He makes no effort to block him. It was supposed to be 1-on-1, but instead it's 1-on-0, and Ward comes up with the tackle. Now, I don't know if Eckler would have scored anyway, but leaving Jimmy Ward unblocked left no chance. Maybe they were planning to block him with the guard, but I think that's wishful thinking at best, if that were the plan. I love the play call, but either the execution or the play design was a little bit flawed. Let me know in the comments what you think it was. So they're forced to settle for a field goal, and again, this would be significant later in the game. I feel like this is a play that kind of got lost in, as the game went on, but ultimately it makes the score 13-3. The Niners still have some work to do. Unfortunately, San Francisco is facing third down and forever. They have to get to the 35-yard line. That's how far they have to go to get the first down. So they send Brandon Aiyuk and Deebo Samuel on some deep routes. They're very dangerous players. This must be respected. When the defense drops back, George Kittle takes the space the defense left behind. Now, I say takes the space that the defense left behind, but Davis actually has some pretty good coverage of Kittle here. But Kittle's able to find that separation, and Garoppolo's able to get him the football. First down, San Francisco. That was a big play, and this would be Kittle's only catch of the game. Let me know what you think about that in the comments. Sometimes a play like that can spark your offense, and check out what happens on the very next play. Garoppolo starts out looking to his left. Brandon Aiyuk is covered. Now Jimmy tries to throw in a pump fake, but then he has to scramble. Ray McCloud sees him and just goes. And Garoppolo throws a beautiful pass right into the bucket. That was a great pass. It reminded me a lot of this one Garoppolo threw in Kansas City a few years ago. Richie James on that one. In this case, I think there's a few key differences. For one thing, Garoppolo is on the run. It's a broken play. And that, to me anyway, makes it more impressive. I think this was one of Jimmy's best passes of the year so far. And I have to say, Ray McCloud has impressed me as a receiver and as a returner. And Shanahan would start to do his thing. With the Chargers still crowding the line of scrimmage, he calls a couple of screen passes. Christian McCaffrey with blockers out in front. I think the Chargers are a little bit fortunate that this play didn't do more damage than it did. It's the next play and we're still seeing that five-man front. And with Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in the backfield, that's kind of understandable. But once again, Shanahan hits him with the screen. McCaffrey takes it inside the 5 and just file this play away for later. Garoppolo would take the plunge. He's never been stopped on the quarterback sneak, and it's a touchdown for the 49ers. Robbie Gould, extra point. Now the score is 13-10, and that scoreboard doesn't look so bad now. And here we get to easily the most controversial play of the game. Herbert starts to scramble, and he knows he's got to get past that 29-yard line if he wants to pick up the first down. Dre Greenlaw knows that too, and Herbert is not giving himself up, so Greenlaw has the right to come up and hit him and try to prevent that from happening. But at the last second, Jimmy Ward comes in and knocks Herbert sideways, and Greenlaw and Herbert awkwardly collide, and Dre Greenlaw would be ejected for this. And that was really kind of a shocking decision. Niners and Chargers media alike agree that this did not warrant an ejection. Now, you could say a personal foul for hitting him in the head. You're not allowed to do that under any circumstances, whether you meant to or not. But ejections are usually reserved for malicious hits where a player tried to do that, which definitely wasn't the case here. The officials in New York got this one wrong. Now, one thing I think they got right was they did have Herbert come out of the game for a few plays, so he could be evaluated after that hit to his head. We all remember that play with Tua Tagovailoa down in Miami. That was extremely scary, and I think the league is doing the right thing here, protecting their players and making sure he's okay before he comes back into the game. Chase Daniel has to come in, and the Chargers are facing a 3rd down and 10. It looks like one of the Charger receivers is coming open for a touchdown here. It's kind of hard to see, but that looks like DeAndre Carter putting a move on Tayshaun Gibson. But thanks to the pass rush of Nick Bosa and Jordan Willis, Chase Daniel has to run for his life. And to be fair to Chase Daniel, that would have been an NFL throw. So the Chargers would tack on a field goal, ending what was somewhat of a wild and sloppy first half for both teams, going into the locker room with the lead 16-10. In the second half, the Niners would continue with their tricks. With Christian McCaffrey lined up in the backfield, they put Deebo Samuel in motion, and the Charger defense moves in that direction. When they fake the handoff to McCaffrey, Bryce Callahan steps up and then immediately realizes, oh, this is a pass, I need to get back into coverage. And George Kittle runs right at him. The 49ers also use Brandon Aiyuk to run off Asante Samuel Jr., leaving nobody to cover Christian McCaffrey. Now, one of the things we talk about a lot on this channel is how each of Kyle Shanahan's plays builds off of previous plays. This time we see that it's Deebo Samuel in the backfield, and they put Christian McCaffrey in motion. The Charger defense moves. And this time the Niners just hand the ball off to Deebo Samuel going the other way, and we see how hard it is to defend this offense. Niner fans have been salivating thinking of all the things Kyle Shanahan can do with both Deebo Samuel and Christian McCaffrey in the lineup, and you're getting a little taste of it right here. Facing a 3rd down and 1, it's time for the master of the quarterback sneak to do his thing. And folks, what you have just witnessed is the only time Jimmy Garoppolo has ever been stopped on a quarterback sneak. You can see the Chargers all signaling 4th down. So, what do the 49ers do? They simply run the quarterback sneak again. And this time it's successful. Garoppolo picks up the 1st down. He is now 32 of 33 on quarterback sneaks lifetime. With the Charger defense reeling a little bit, the 49ers keep pounding the rock. And here's another great example of how comfortable and smooth Christian McCaffrey is running through traffic. This play was successful in part thanks to a great block by Ross Dwelley. Do you remember that play design I didn't like in the first quarter? Well, I love this play design. Mike McGlinchey fires off into the 2nd level, leaving Sebastian Joseph Day unblocked. It's Kyle Juszczyk who comes over and picks him up, clearing the lane for Elijah Mitchell. In the first quarter, it was a handoff to the up back. This time, the 49ers use blocking to their advantage. And you can see that depleted Charger defense starting to wear down a little bit. On 1st and goal, Jake Brendel gets beaten. I thought this was a good play by Breeden Fehoko. On 2nd down, the play is blown up by former NFL Defensive Player of the Year, 4-time All-Pro, and 6-time Pro Bowler, Khalil Mack, who looks at the fake handoff in the backfield and says, "I don't believe you," and runs over to cover Elijah Mitchell. There was a lot of talk about scheme and play calling after this game, but those last two plays were just blown up by great plays on the defense. Remember, those guys get paid too. So on third down, the 49ers put the ball into the hands of Jimmy Garoppolo. He takes a look at George Kittle. He's covered. So he resets his feet and comes over to Christian McCaffrey. He's covered too. So Garoppolo resets again and comes over to Brandon Aiyuk, and he's open. And we got to go back and take a look at how Brandon Aiyuk got so wide open on this play. This is a great route by Aiyuk. Watch this. And he drops it. And I saw some people suggesting that maybe this pass was behind Brandon Aiyuk. And to that I say, no way. This ball was on target. Aiyuk has to make that catch. Reluctantly, the 49ers settle for another field goal attempt, and Robbie Gould knocks it through, making the score 16-13, with the Chargers still in the lead. But the 49ers would get the ball back. Facing a key third down, the Chargers put Asante Samuel Jr. on the 49ers' biggest third down threat, Jauan Jennings. And Asante Samuel is giving Jennings a lot of space. You know, one thing Asante Samuel Sr., his dad, was so good at was playing off of the receiver and then breaking on the ball. And it looks like that's something that Junior is going to be good at as well. But here Jauan Jennings uses it to his advantage and cuts to the outside. Now the problem is Garoppolo is going to have to get this ball from the far hash all the way outside the numbers, and we know he can't do that. Did you fall for that again? And take a look at Jimmy Garoppolo starting this throw well before Jennings even makes his break. The pass to Ray McCloud was great, but I would rank this one right up there with it. 0 turnovers in this game by Jimmy Garoppolo. The offense struggled at times, but in general, I thought this was another strong game by Jimmy. In fact, a few plays later is a good example of Garoppolo simply executing the offense. With the 49ers facing second down and 20, yeah, they got to get all the way to the 49-yard line here. The Chargers go into a zone, and Shanahan exploits this with a classic concept from the Shanahan offense, putting defenders into conflict. Deebo Samuel runs right at Bryce Callahan, while Christian McCaffrey heads to the outside, to the zone of Asante Samuel Jr. Clutch performer Jauan Jennings runs in behind Deebo, and Samuel would like to pass him off so he can pick up McCaffrey. But when Deebo cuts to the middle, Callahan goes with him, and there's nobody left to pick up Jauan Jennings. Now it's third down and manageable. Well, the Chargers have had just about enough of this, and here they decide to send a blitz. But once again, the 49ers run 2 players into the area of 1 defender. But Jeremiah Itachu plays this pretty good, I think. He passes Deebo Samuel off and picks up Jauan Jennings underneath. But then Jennings makes him miss and gets the first down. The 49ers are so talented on offense. Even when the defense plays pretty good, it's still hard to stop them. 49er fans will remember Itachu briefly played for the 49ers a few years ago. The player who led the 49ers in receiving was, once again, Brandon Aiyuk. But second on that list was Jauan Jennings, who had a strong game. The 49ers go back to the ground and Elijah Mitchell, who provided a really nice change of pace in this game. But here Drew Tranquill diagnoses the play and is in position to make the tackle, and Mitchell just runs right through him. Once again, we see that Charger defense starting to wear down, starting to get tired. Now, at this point, it might be a good time to talk about the elephant in the room. And if you are not aware of this, there's been a contention made based on film study that Trent Williams may be tipping his plays based on his stance. right? You know, the Dallas Cowboys used to call this a key, right? Like back in the 60s, they would call this a key. Certain players would have tendencies, and you would try to learn those tendencies to see if they would tip off the upcoming play, whether it's a run or a pass or something like that. And this was done via a tweet by Jesse, who actually goes by Last Second Sports right here on YouTube. He made a video about this, and I will put a link to that video in the description. And the debate surrounding this issue has been heated. So I think the best thing to do here is to kind of break it down into 3 parts so we can just look at this really like cold and logically, okay? Part 1 would be, does Trent Williams do this? You know, is it true that, you know, his stance might tip off whether a run or a pass is coming? And based on all the plays that I've looked at, the answer is yes. Now, before you freak out, there's a second part and a third part. The second part is, does this matter? And the third part is, if so, how much does it matter? To answer the second part, I'm going to let Bill Belichick answer that question.
Bill Belichick could now concentrate on his opponent's lineup.
We hadn't played the Ravens since I'd been here, so we really had no history with them, but the one player we did have a history on was Orlando Brown, and he was their right tackle. In all my years of coaching, I don't think we've ever had a better key than we had on Orlando Brown on his stance where we could read run or pass. When he was up in a 2-point stance, it was 100% pass, and then when he was down, you know, it was always running, and we had it down cold. So we're getting ready to go out for the game, go out for warm-ups, and we meet with the officials and get the inactive list, and Orlando Brown's inactive. Broke our heart.
I think it's safe to say that answers the question. It does matter. Obviously, it was important enough for Bill Belichick to mention during the documentary of the 2004 Patriots season, a season in which they won their 3rd Super Bowl, no doubt by focusing on details just like that. I'll put a link to that video in the description as well. But you know, it's in a coach's nature to be detail-oriented, right? What are the players saying? The players, current and former, interestingly enough, are saying it doesn't matter as much as you might think. Now, how can that be, right? How can those two things be true at the same time, that yes, he's doing this, yes, it matters, but when it's all said and done, it really doesn't matter that much? How can that be? To answer that question, once again, we take a look at the film. Tell me what you guys see here. 2 tight ends in the formation and a running back. And both wide receivers lined up tight to the line of scrimmage. What we have learned is that, yes, his stance may be giving away a play, but the formation, the personnel, and the down and distance probably tell the defense more about the play than his stance. There's a lot of things the defenders have to focus on, and ultimately they have to react to what the players do. The key, yeah, it's a detail, maybe one the 49ers should look at, but it's not the extreme situation that maybe some folks were concerned that it could be, fortunately enough. Some people have rightfully pointed out that Trent Williams is an all-pro left tackle, probably the best left tackle in the league. He knows what he's doing. He's going to make sure he's set up to block the play correctly, whether he's pass protecting or run blocking, and maybe he needs to change up his stance a little bit. I'm sure that's something they'll at least take a cursory look at inside the 49er locker room. But that's up to the coaches. Now you've seen the contention, you've seen the film, you've seen what people have had to say about it, and you guys can discuss it from there, because I can guarantee you this, my word on it is not going to be the last word on it. All right, let's move on. Okay, left foot back, it's a pass. And yeah, it's 3rd and 10. Of course this is a pass, and that's kind of the point. And when you need to pick up 10 yards and you see Bryce Callahan giving this much space to Brandon Aiyuk, that's a great place to look if you're the quarterback. But what I want you guys to look at is Dan Brunskill blocking 2 defenders on this play. Boom, boom, and he gives Garoppolo enough time even though the Chargers sent a blitz on this play. And we can see Garoppolo winding up to throw again before Brandon Aiyuk even makes his break. In fact, Aiyuk takes just barely a step to the outside first, getting Bryce Callahan to react and making sure that Aiyuk has enough separation to come open on this play. And then we see the camera quickly pan down because the 49ers have went into the hurry up unexpectedly, and as long as they don't substitute, which they didn't, they are allowed to do this. They do not have to wait for the defense by rule. So let's go ahead and count the number of players on the field here for the Chargers. Let's just skip it. 13. They had 13 players on the field. We see 2 defenders offsides. This is a total disaster, and the most important thing, of course, is that the Chargers were not set. They were not ready to defend this play, and it's easy enough for McCaffrey to bowl his way into the end zone for a touchdown, and the 49ers finally take the lead in this game. Look how happy the players are. Robbie Gould knocks through the extra point. No, he missed. He misses the extra point, and that is significant because now it is only a 3-point lead. It is 19-16. And there's a tendency to focus on the negative, right? You know, the 3 points means, of course, the Chargers can tie with just a field goal. But I'm going to focus on the positive here. Who remembers that Tayshaun Gibson play in the first half when he saved a touchdown for the 49ers, and that margin is 3 points? How about that? Okay, the Chargers would punt, but then the 49ers would have to punt back to them, and let's take a look at what happens here. Now the ball's down at the 1-yard line, and the announcer started freaking out because eventually he goes into the end zone and they're going, that's a touchback, that's a touchback. Well, sort of, right? He has to stay out of the end zone until the official blows the play dead. And here you can clearly see the official. He's already put the whistle in his mouth and he blows the play dead. Everything that happens after that is not part of the play. The other thing that was driving me crazy is there was about 2 minutes left to go in the game at this point. And Mike Tirico goes, 99 yards. They have to go 99 yards. No, they don't have to go 99 yards. They're only down 3. They only need a field goal. They still have to go 60 or 70 yards, and that's not going to be easy against this defense. So let's take a look at how this plays out. Nick Bosa stymied initially, but Justin Herbert knows he's there, knows he's going to keep working. He knows he's vulnerable in the end zone, so here he does the prudent thing and throws the ball away. On second down, Azeez Al-Shaair and Fred Warner work real well together. Al-Shaair passes off McKitty to Fred Warner so that he can come down and pick up Austin Eckler. Herbert tries to squeeze it in. Nope. Defended by Fred Warner. Incomplete pass. On third down, McKitty does come open, and that is because Jimmy Ward understands the assignment. He understands the game situation. He's not going to let DeAndre Carter come open behind him. He stays back. Go ahead and complete that pass underneath to McKitty. The 49ers rally to make the tackle. Look at Ward. He knows he made a great play. That's great coaching and great experience from Jimmy Ward. That is what he brings to this team. On fourth down, Herbert gets happy feet a little bit when he sees the pass rush of Nick Bosa. And that's a real shame because this time it was the Chargers that put the Niners in conflict. Deommodore Lenoir is caught in no man's land when he's forced to defend both Austin Eckler and Joshua Palmer. But Herbert hurries his throw, and the pass falls incomplete, and it's a turnover on downs. All right, what's the strategy here? It's easy. You run 3 times and kick the field goal. Force the Chargers to use all their timeouts and go up by 6 points, make them drive the length of the field with no timeouts for a touchdown against San Francisco's defense. Now, of course, you would like to score a touchdown here. Again, Tirico said this would be one of those situations where you should go down on purpose. No, sir. And the reason is because the Chargers still have that last timeout, right? They can stop the clock if you go down on purpose, so it's actually better to score the touchdown here. But that doesn't happen, and let's take a look at why. Mike McGlinchey. Now, I want to say right off the bat, again, we are not in the meeting room. We don't know what he is asked to do here. It appears as if he misunderstood the blocking assignment, allowing penetration into the backfield. Elijah Mitchell also slips on the play, and it's unclear if he would have scored even if those 2 things had gone right. Anyway, the Chargers were obviously aware of what play this was going to be and set up to defend the run at all costs to save the game, right? So, they do use their last timeout, and the 49ers do trot out the field goal team, and they do go up by 6. Now, this drove me crazy too in terms of strategy. You kick this thing out of the back of the end zone. Instead, they kick it to the 5. I really hope that the 49er coaches did not ask him to do this for an extra 5 yards in field position, because you're risking a return here. I really hate that. On the other hand, if it was Robbie Gould who just didn't get all of the football, well, that's not a good sign either. He did not have a great game today. Fortunately, the 49ers do make the tackle, and the Chargers are going to get one last desperation play. And the pass is intercepted by Talanoa Hufanga. Hufanga ends the game in style. Let's go back to the snap. And here we see why. Charles Omenihu hits the arm of Justin Herbert right as he's releasing it. The ball flutters up in the air and into the arms of Hufanga. Charles Omenihu is quietly having a great season for the 49ers. He has 4 sacks on the year already, and he led the team with 6 pressures in this game. Very impressive. Well, there it is, folks, and I gotta tell you, I am exhausted for a game that was, like I said, a little bit wild and sloppy in the first half, and frustrating to watch at times. There were so many different and unique football situations, really, that covered almost the entire breadth of the game to look at when we took a look at the film. Ultimately, if you're still here, I'm proud of you. That was a lot of analysis to get through, but it was fun. I mean, there was a lot of, like I said, just a lot to talk about in this game. So let's go ahead and put it on the shelf. I think we've covered everything we need to cover. Maybe we'll just mention real quick that I expected them to be a little bit rusty coming off the bye. You know, it's sort of the nature of the game, right? The offense looked a little bit rusty. The defense started out maybe looking a little rusty, especially on that first drive. They gave up some big plays and the easy touchdown in the corner. But then they really got their act together. You know, the offense, they kept grinding. They kept working at it. They kept pushing until they got it going in the second half. And in the second half, the defense pitched a shutout. 0 points allowed in the second half. Really just an outstanding effort for the entire team. Niner football is 60 minutes. That's the title of this video, and it's for a good reason, right? The Trent Williams thing, we already talked about that. I'm not going to mention it again other than to say what I already said. Yes, it is an issue. I wouldn't worry too much about it. The players are telling you not to worry too much about it. It's a detail that needs to be cleaned up. We'll just leave it at that. All right, let's look to the future because the 49ers have another game to play, this time in Mexico City. How cool is that? The international series continues for the NFL. The Arizona Cardinals, our division rival, they have given the 49ers kind of some unexpected problems in the past. But I think this is a game that they should win, hopefully, if all goes according to plan. And that would put the 49ers in first place in the NFC West by just a half a game if they do win that. And I think we gotta say at this point, the Seattle Seahawks have to be considered a legitimate threat in this division. At the beginning of the year, we thought it was going to be a two-horse race between the Rams and the 49ers. But Seattle has surprised. Geno Smith is playing well. Pete Carroll has the young rookies on defense playing well. That's never a good sign if you're a division rival of the Seahawks anyway. And we have to go to their house on a short week, on a Thursday night. That's not coming up till December. You don't want to look past your opponents now, like the Cardinals. But if I were Kyle Shanahan, I would devote just a little bit of my time every week to preparing for that game. That could be the game that decides the division. Overlook the Seahawks at your own risk. And if there was a second opponent, maybe after that Seahawks game, that I would be just putting a little bit of time in, it would have to be the Philadelphia Eagles, right? Because they're the main threat in the NFC. And that's no disrespect to the Cowboys or the Vikings, but we've played the Cowboys and the Vikings in the playoffs in recent years. We'll be a little bit more familiar with them already. I understand that coaches do things a little bit differently. There's been some personnel changes, but for the most part, the Eagles are the team that I would say we're probably the most unfamiliar with in terms of high-level playoff competition in recent years. There's a third team that bears mentioning here. And if you're thinking about it the way I'm thinking about it, we're both thinking along the same lines. Right now, the 49ers, until they win against Arizona, right? They are not in first place in the NFC West. Right now, they're a half a game behind. Seahawks are on a bye this week. That's why it works out like that mathematically. That would put the 49ers in the wild card spot. And when you're talking about wild card teams, there's a team that is 5-5 right now, fighting for one of those wild card positions. And it's a team the 49ers play on their schedule later this year, and that is the Washington Commanders. A little bit of a surprising team. Again, overlook them at your own risk. Carson Wentz, we all know he's a mixed bag. We all know what he brings to the table. Not the consistency coaches are looking for, but since they have made the switch to Taylor Heineke, the Commanders are playing well. I'm not saying they are a legitimate Super Bowl contender at this point. I think we can all agree on that. But there's always a team that sneaks into the playoffs and can surprise, right? You never know. And it would be a real bad surprise if they were to come into San Francisco in a few weeks' time and win that game and put themselves in a better position to claim one of those wild card spots. The good news is the 49ers, I know it's really early to say this, but they control their own destiny, right? By playing Seattle, by playing Washington, the Niners can determine what happens later on in the year simply by winning those games. Easy for me to say, right? But for now, it's going to be Arizona. Now, before we get to that, really, I got to take a minute to just thank everybody who has supported this channel. You guys have meant so much to me. You have made it possible for me to continue doing this year. I really want to thank everybody who has been supportive these last couple of weeks. The people who have come up to me and encouraged me. It really means a lot. This takes a lot of work to make a video like this. Thank you, thank you, thank you for your support. If you could take 10 seconds, if I could ask one more thing of you, just take 10 seconds out of your day and hit that like button for me. It really helps. I really appreciate it. And I want to hear what you guys have to say. There was a lot to say about this game, from the Trent Williams stuff to the play calling and play design. I want to know what you guys think. Put it in the comments. I read every comment. You guys help to educate me, and I appreciate that too. So leave me a comment. I read every comment. All right, Niners, Cardinals, next week in Mexico City on Monday Night Football. Again, how cool is that, right? For first place in the division. That is going to be exciting. I don't know what's going to happen in that game. I don't even know who's going to play quarterback for the Arizona Cardinals. But regardless of what happens, you know we are going to be here to break down that film. And I will see you guys then.